Welcome everybody to our webinar on college applications, part 3 of our Topic Tuesday series. As people join, we have a fun activity just to get everyone familiar with the Zoom platform. So if you're not familiar with Zoom, know that you're in webinar mode, which means that everyone is entering on mute and we can't see or hear you, but we're excited that you're joining us today to learn all about college applications. During the presentation, feel free to use the chat to communicate directly with the panelists and any questions in the Q&A feature, which we will be monitoring throughout the presentation. A welcome activity that we wanted to have you all participate in is in the chat, if you'll drop in the questions that you may have about college applications. So in chat, if you'll drop in, what are the college application questions that you would like to see covered today? We've got several guest speakers that are going to be talking on a variety of types of college applications and supporting those events. But if you'll drop in the chat as you join us, what are a few questions about college applications you would like to see covered today? Welcome to the webinar. We will get started in just a second. So welcome. We just wanted to have you guys drop in the chat any questions that you would like to have covered in regards to college applications. We've got a variety of guest speakers joining us today in a lot of different formats of college applications. So we're excited to bring you this information. All right, so as you can see on the screen, we've got some questions I would like for you to drop in the chat. There's a question that's come across is just want to see what's new during the virtual setting for college applications. Great question, Betty. We will definitely talk about this virtual space and supporting college applications. Got a question about residency requirements in Mississippi, so we'll address that as well. We're excited that you guys are joining us. Just to let you know, we are in webinar mode, so we can't see or hear you, but if you'll ask questions for the panelists today in the Q&A box, which you'll find on the bottom bar of your Zoom window, and if you need any technology help or have any sort of issues, you can directly chat with the panelists and we can troubleshoot with you. And we've got this activity on the screen about if you have any specific questions that you'd like to learn from today's webinar. We've got a great variety of panelists presenting on lots of different avenues, all about college applications. So we're excited to provide that information for you. And thanks for joining us today. We hope you find this very helpful as we move forward in supporting college applications.
All right, good morning everyone and welcome to the webinar. I'm Shannon Grimsley, the Director of State Outreach for the Woodward Hines Education Foundation and the Get to College program. We are recording today's session and we'll send a link to anyone who registered. For those watching this recording, today's date is September 8th, 2020, and the material in this webinar is current through the 2020-21 school year. In today's session, College Applications, you'll hear from staff from the Common Application and the American College Application Campaign as they highlight application procedures and opportunities for your students to complete their college applications. We will wrap up the webinar by learning more about Mississippi's Application Day support. I will now share a little background on Get to College and a few logistics about the webinar before we get started. Get to College is a nonprofit program of the Woodward Hines Education Foundation. We have 3 centers in Mississippi, in Jackson, Ocean Springs, and South Haven. And we help parents, students, and high school counselors and educators with all aspects of college planning and financial aid. And best of all, as many of you know, all of our services are free. In our centers, we offer personalized college counseling appointments where we can tell students when to apply for admission and scholarships, help fill out their FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, or advise on essay writing and interviewing. For the fall semester, we are offering all of our services, wait for it, in a virtual manner. This will include the counselor webinar series that you're participating in now and other professional development opportunities, student and parent workshops, remote FAFSA completion, and 2-way text messaging. Just a few housekeeping items. As Kirsten mentioned earlier, during the webinar, we cannot see or hear you, but you can ask us questions through the chat or through the Q&A at any time. This is our agenda for the day. As we talked about earlier, we're talking about all things college applications. At the end, we will have a Q&A session where we'll answer your questions. We'll talk about the upcoming webinars and we'll give you our contact information. Today's session is going to be moderated by myself and then also Kirsten Dufour, who's our Assistant Director and Project Manager at Get to College. And she will be the one replying to the Q&A today. We will have a time for the live Q&A with presenters at the end, but feel free to message your questions at any time. I would now like to introduce our featured speakers of the day. Our first speaker is Meredith Lombardi, and Meredith is the Assistant Director of Outreach and Education for the Common Application. As part of the Access and Equity team, Meredith engages with students and the counseling community to ensure Common App resources are relevant and support college access initiatives. Meredith previously worked as a high school counselor in Washington, D.C. and in the state of Georgia, and is a graduate of Emory University with her BBA and the University of Maryland College Park with her MED. Our second presenter is Lisa.King. Lisa is the director of the American College Application Campaign, a national initiative of ACT's Center for Equity and Learning. ACAC is designed to increase the number of first-generation students from low-income families pursuing a college degree or other higher education credentials. She was the campaign's senior communications specialist since the year 2016 before being named the director. Prior to joining ACT, King served local, state, and national nonprofits and education institutions throughout her communications consultancy, Lisa.King Consulting, LLC. She specialized in brand management, media relations, social media, and event planning. Before starting her consultancy, she worked for the Michigan College Access Network, Michigan Nonprofit Association, and Davis Brand Capital. King holds a bachelor's degree from Central Michigan University, where she studied integrative public relations and public affairs and completed the Leader Advancement Scholarship Program. She is currently pursuing her master's degree in online strategic communications at Michigan State University. Lisa currently serves as a board member of Eastminster Child Development Center, is an emeritus board member of the Michigan Breastfeeding Network, and is a founder of CMU Volunteer Center Alumni Chapter, and is a member of the Public Relations Society of America. She resides in East Lansing, Michigan, with her husband and 3 children, where they enjoy camping and exploring the outdoors. Presenters, I will be navigating your slides for you today, so just let me know when you're ready to flip to the next slide. So without further ado, we're going to turn this over to Meredith from the Common Application and let her get started.
Thanks, Shannon, and hi, everyone. So nice to be with you today. I know it's not the ideal start of the school year that we would hope for. Just so you all know, today is day 1 of virtual school for my kids. So I have a kindergartner and a first grader working on their computers downstairs. So let's see how this goes. Very happy to be with you today. I know that there's a lot I can share, but I'm really hoping just to get to the Q&A at the end with your Common App questions. For this brief introduction, just want to give you some updates for this 2020-2021 season and connect you with the tools that we have out there that you can use. Going. All right. Just to give you a sense of Common App and the organization, Common App is a nonprofit membership organization, and our mission is the pursuit of access, equity, and integrity in the college admission process. We have been around since 1975, so this is not something new, although it can feel new depending where you are in the country because there have been so many member institutions that have joined over the years. So 1975, we start with these 15 private institutions and have grown since then in 45 years to over 900 member colleges. There have been things that have happened along the way, like public institutions joining, which started around the year 2000, and then followed by international members joining as well. That's really where we've started to see this growth over the last 15 years. So as I mentioned, we're currently this year at 922 member institutions. We do have a Common App member in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. As I mentioned, we also have schools that are outside of the US, so students who are looking to pursue their bachelor's degree in another country can find 62 member institutions in 18 countries outside of the US. This image on the right is the copy of the map that normally gets sent out to schools. And I wanted to mention it here because we're currently surveying counselors to find out if we should be mailing out maps this year, given that there's so much disparity across the country and school by school and district by district as to whether schools are even virtual or if we should hold off mailing out maps until later in the year or possibly next year. So if you do get our newsletter, definitely take a moment just to do that survey so that we can decide how we're going to distribute maps this year. So thinking about the growth of the membership, each year there are new member institutions that join. This year is no exception. We've had 42 members that are now joining for this 2020-2021 season. They're in 20 different US states. 19 of those institutions are public. The public institutions you can see are on your right. Certainly in the South, we've seen a large number of some of the public institutions joining this year and over the past several years. If you want to see the full list of new institutions, the link there, commonapp.org/blog, brings you to our blog, and there is a blog post specifically about new members. To give you a sense of how many students are using the Common App platform, last year we had over 1 million students use the first year application. Those students submitted 5.6 million applications, and 1/3 of them were identified as first generation students. We also have their transfer application. It's a smaller volume, but happy to answer any questions about transfer as well if you support any students with the transfer process. So last year we had 100,000 unique students use the transfer application. Those students submitted 207,000 transfer applications. And we do see a larger percentage of students identifying as first gen, 39% on the transfer side. Applicants in terms of where they're coming from, majority are US based, so 91% come from the US, but then we do have 9% of applicants who are submitting through Common App from 213 countries and territories. Listed here are the top 15 states in terms of where applicants are coming from. I will tell you that when I looked at Mississippi, it is actually towards the bottom around in terms of volume for Common App. It's number 46 out of 50. So would love to have conversations about ways that we can help introduce the platform to students or to schools, or how we can better support the work that you are doing. And then here, I thought you might like to see the actual volume from last year. So this is the 2019-2020 application cycle. There were just over 1,500 students in Mississippi who submitted through Common App. Those students submitted 6,689 applications. Those applications were submitted to 485 different colleges and universities on our platform. So we can see that students are finding schools that meet their needs through the Common App. Top receiving institutions there, I think I pulled the top 15 there. LSU just slightly beat out Ole Miss from students in Mississippi, and then Mississippi State, and so on down that list. Again, you will get a copy of these slides, so you will certainly be able to look at this. Also just wanted to note that of those applications that were submitted, 60% of them were submitted with either using the fee waiver, or a college does not charge an application fee. So over the 50% are not paying an application fee. And then speaking of the fee waiver, it is a one and done process within Common App. So all students see a question in the profile section of Common App asking them if they feel that they have an economic need and would like to request an application fee waiver. They see then the criteria in that question that you see on the right. And last year, students who used the fee waiver calculated out to over $92 million that our member institutions granted that would otherwise have been paid for by students if there was no fee waiver. So we're just very thankful to Common App member institutions for recognizing that that first payment of an application fee can create a barrier for students, and that is one thing that we want to make sure does not happen. Also, in case you're curious or not sure, if you've done anything with College Signing Day, or Up Next Texting, or Better Make Room, or Beating the Odds, these are all initiatives that are part of Reach Higher, which was started by former First Lady Michelle Obama when the Obamas were in the White House. All of these initiatives now fall under Common App. So the Reach Higher team joined Common App in January 2019. And again, we continue to support all of these. The Beating the Odds, which addresses summer melt, all of those videos are now coming out through social media. So there's a lot of great tools, and they really do speak directly to students. So it's not so much to counselors, but direct to student, and would be happy to talk again about anything Reach Higher related. Alrighty, just a reminder about Common App. It does roll over from year to year. So students do not have to wait until their senior year to create an account. August 1 is when the new system launches, but they can create it in their junior year or sophomore year. Whenever you do an activity where you want them to get familiar with the application process, you can have them create an account, and then they just can roll it over every year. Their username and password remains the same. Anything that they enter on the Common App tab, that's all the common information, that information rolls over from year to year. But anything that's college specific, that's the information that does not roll over, which includes invitations for recommenders. So just so you know, if anyone invited you last year, it would not have rolled over, and they would need to invite you again this year. We did add a specific question for COVID-19 into the application this year. This was in consultation with our Counselor Outreach Advisory Committee members, along with our Application Advisory Committee members, plus a conversation during our virtual member summit, which we hosted in May. The question discusses it as community disruptions such as COVID-19 and natural disasters. And it asks students to reflect on if they have anything they want to share regarding their health and well-being, safety, family circumstances, future plans, and their education, including access to reliable technology and quiet study spaces. There is a link to an FAQ in the question. Things to note, it is optional, so students should not feel they have to answer this question. It has a 250-word limit to be intentional about not portraying it as an essay. It's not meant to be an essay. It is located in the additional information section within the application, but is separate from the additional information question itself, which still has the 650-word limit. And again, at our blog, there's more information there about how the question was designed. Also wanted to point out that there's a question that lives now on the counselor forms as well. So in the school details section of the profile, you as counselors will see a question as well where you can talk more globally about the impact of the coronavirus on your school community. So if you want to talk about changes in grading scales or course offerings, anything related to your testing requirements or your calendar, if you've moved to virtual or hybrid, all of that can be addressed here. But we also say in the question, if you haven't, use this space if you haven't addressed this elsewhere. So if you do have a school profile and you're going to be uploading that school profile and you're including something about COVID-19 there, you do not feel that you have to use this section or question. Again, it's optional. It has a 500-word limit and it's in the school details section. All right, also wanted to note that because some counselors didn't have the ability to submit final reports for students last year, you do now have the ability for your class of 2020. If you still need to submit final reports, you can do that through the recommender support or the recommender login, so recommend.common-app.org. You'll see a link there for the 2019-2020 recommender system. In terms of the Common App recommender system, this is what it looks like now. So if you haven't gotten in there yet, you're going to see that it has gotten a pretty significant refresh. If you remember, we did this for the application system in 2019-2020, and then we now made these updates for the recommender system. So the drivers, modernization, accessibility, responsiveness, and branding. And if you want to click through, I'll show you some things that you can notice. So one, there's going to be a system walkthrough that teaches you about some of the different features of the new system. Keep clicking. Yep, there's walkthrough. Yep. All right. You also are going to have new filters. So if you click on that, new things that you'll be able to see, like what forms you have to do for certain students. If you want to look at deadlines, if you want to find students that need or have to do courses and grades or application preview. If you want to look up particular colleges that your students have on their lists, you can find all of that in new filters. Keep going. All right, you're also going to see a to-do list so you know what's coming up for certain students. Yep, there's also more requirements so you know what you need for each student. Click again. Okay, yep, you're going to see birthdays in here, as well as clearly showing the student's Common App ID. Click through. Notifications. Question icons with additional information. Yep, that's where you can see application preview. So you can actually see the PDF of the in-progress application for your students. And then click one more time, please. Just a reminder that we have our recommender system, but we also integrate with all of these partners. So if you do use, for example, Naviance or Maya Learning or one of these new partners, we also support the integration between Common App and these partners. All right, I'm going to go quickly through the tools, so this will be super fast. If you want to see who's using Common App, going to commonapp.org/explore will give you the full list of schools and lots of filters you can use. One more click, highlighting, want to make sure that you know that there is a test optional link there because majority of our members for the class of 2021 are offering test optional. Yep, you can also find details and virtual tours for all of our member institutions. on the Explore page, click again. This is where you can click one more time. Yep, you can also see just different experiences that our members have highlighted about themselves. Yep. Planning tools are on commonapp.org. So if you need roadmaps, if you want to tell juniors, like, here's what you need to be doing for this year. Guides to the application and recommender systems are also out here. Family resources. Keep going. Common App Ready. This is where if you need handouts or you want to be able to upload PDFs, you can get that here. Everything is available in English and Spanish. We do have things like an application dictionary, brag sheets, essay writing resources. So all of these are in print-friendly formatting. And a reminder, we are available 24/7. So whenever you need it or your students need it, you can either go out to our support pages, app support for application questions, rec support for recommender questions. You can contact us. You can, there's a writing requirements resource that's going live this week where you can look up any college and actually see all of their writing prompts. So not just the Common App essay, but if they do have additional writing supplements, you'll be able to see that there. And then these are just some suggestions for how you can learn more. Creating your own student account, we call practice accounts, is a great way to understand the system. We have lots of resources. If you go to that counselors and recommenders page on the commonapp.org website, and if you may have participated in NACAC's college fair for the counselor preview one a few weeks ago, and we're just also trying to help get the word out about the student fairs that are coming up over the next few months. And then again, just happy to answer questions at the end. And I'm going to hand it over to Lisa.
Thank you. And I was muted. I was getting ready to get launched. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Meredith. I always love getting to hear what's going on at Common App. And similar to Meredith's situation, we are starting our second week of virtual learning here. So I do have a second grader across the hall that may poke in here, and a DK or like early kindergarten downstairs, but hopefully the other adults in the house have him settled that he won't come bopping in here. So happy to be here though. If you want to go ahead and jump to the next slide and just dive right into what's happening here at ACAC. So I'm going to share a little bit about our history and the work that we're doing at the American College Application Campaign. And if you hear me, we call ourselves ACAC, so you'll hear those letters getting tossed around. But I'd like to start with this quote. Sometimes a student going to college is as simple as having someone help them apply. And this is by one of our founders, Joe Watts, who was deep in this work years ago. And really, it's on our campaign, it's a good way to summarize what we're here to do, is just make sure we're helping them through that application process, and having that supportive adult in that process mapped out for them helps them have that courage to apply. Want to go to the next slide, please? So what is ACAC? We're a low-cost, no-cost program designed to enhance and expand college-going culture and expectations by supporting the students in preparing for and completing the college application process. And to be clear, when we use the word college, we mean, you know, any post-secondary education that's a certificate program, 2 years degree, 4 years degree. So we're really helping that student map out what their educational plans are for life after high school. We believe that there's a post-secondary pathway for all students, and we want the partnerships with anyone who joins in with us and our host sites to understand that we are looking to support each student with the navigation of this process, and that we're not working with, you know, only certain students, but that we're really making sure all students in that senior and graduating class are supported. We are grade-wide and in many cases a school-wide event, and we're designed to increase the numbers of students who've been applying and enrolling and succeeding ultimately. And so that's where you'll see connection, as I talk here today, the connections of other campaigns that we work with, and many of our state campaigns, including Mississippi, with how they support not just the application process, but really moving through that entire senior year process that happens. We have a specific focus on students who are systemically underserved. So our first generation college students, students from low income families, and students who just need that added layer of support to begin and complete the college application process that we have, you know, a good focus on and making sure they're meeting the same timeline as the most privileged students are. Next slide, please. So some of our key components to do this work is helping students with that research process, preparation, and submission. So we turn to partners like Common App and, you know, other tools that exist to help students focus on what that college list is that they're building out and researching the best place to apply. Our site center helping them collect that information of what they need to, once they've narrowed down where they want to apply, of is there a fee waiver I need, or how am I going to pay for it? Are there essays they need to complete, or letters of recommendation, you know, and help them follow through and complete all of those check items for each application that they plan to submit. Because we believe that students from the systemically underserved backgrounds should follow that same process and timeline as their most privileged peers. This is why we ask our schools to host the programs in the fall. And obviously in normal circumstances, this looks like that school day program that I mentioned just moments ago, where students are in a building. You can see a photo here at a computer lab. We know that this is going to look different depending on, you know, district by district and building by building of what you're able to do this year. So it may be that you're virtually supporting students to get through this application process, or you're in a social distance type format where only a few students at a time wearing masks come in. You know, you'll have to figure those details out, but we still want to encourage that fall timeline for applications. And then regardless, the spirit of our work is about supporting students and celebrating their accomplishments. So if you want to go ahead to that next slide. So this is that, oops, I'm sorry, go back one more. I might have missed that. Yeah, so it's really helping students understand that we're sharing information, we're building their awareness, we're providing that individualized advising that they need to narrow down that list and apply, and helping them complete that application process. Many of our, you know, sites will also engage families in the community. Sometimes it's through events that have speakers and panels, and so those again might look different this year, but you can engage them in other ways with social media, with how they celebrate. And I'll, at the end of my presentation, share a little bit more about our Why Apply Day, but you can see some of these signs the students are holding up that things like that can still be celebrated and shared on social media or within the community of yards or in business windows, where we're celebrating the students and encouraging them to, you know, make their decisions, plan ahead, and apply to college. So yeah, the key reasons for ACAC, especially during a time of COVID, we know that the students may be weighing various aspects of college research for themselves, and maybe what they had planned 6 months ago, 7 months ago looks a lot different. Their family situation may look different, but we still want to remind students that there's an economic competitiveness for going to college, and that this is helping serve our racial and economic equity issues that we see in our country, and that there's a better chance of employment being stable as their, you know, educational degree paths increase. So we want our students to understand that having a plan should still be done even through this uncertain time, and that it's still, there's no right or wrong, but just helping them find that path as they get through the COVID times and through these years of helping them figure out what's the best decision for them right now, and helping them realize that there's still long-term goals that they should be setting and keeping their eye on that larger goal. Go ahead and do the next slide, please. So this one just shows you what I just kind of mentioned, but I'd like to always point this out. Georgetown Center for Education and the Workforce, they've already pulled together data of what does unemployment look like since COVID hit. So January, this is actually March through May, that slides that you're seeing here, but you can see that green bar there, those with less than high school diploma had a 59% of unemployment rate, and it slowly goes down as you go through that path of, you know, high school diploma or GED, or some college like an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree is the very last orange bar at 34% of unemployment. So you can see that even just in this snapshot of what's happened this year, and this is what we've seen, you know, in past years with other recessions that we've had. So those with the degrees are going to fare better, and we want to help our students understand that, even though things look challenging right now. So go ahead and go to the next slide. And so here's just another snapshot too of what Georgetown's able to share of new jobs that we've been anticipating, although things obviously with COVID has scared it a little bit, but we still know from this data, as we recover from this recession, what the jobs that are going to be created and moving forward, we're going to see a higher need for that post-secondary education. Go ahead and do the next slide. All right, so why ACAC Mississippi? And this gives you just a little glance at the Luna Foundation has a nice Stronger Nation report if you're not familiar with this. And this is just demonstrating where Mississippi is right now in the degree attainment rates and where we are nationally and what they're projecting we need to be reaching as a state. So you can see right now you're at the state average of 45.2%. Of the where you need to go with your degree completion, and you have 35.4% of the associate's degree and a 9.9 there that is what they're calling the short-term credentials. Go ahead and do the next slide. All right, and then just to give a little bit of, so I mean, that's kind of the why our work exists, but I want to give you the history of how we came to be and exist where we are today. So you'll see here, 2005 is when we started as a, at a Europe High School in North Carolina as a college application day. So as word got around to the rest of the state and even surrounding states, we started to expand. So we were suddenly in 15 high schools in North Carolina, then it grew to 109 by 2007. And by 2011, that's when we had caught the attention of some funders and started to grow the program nationally. And it was in 2014 that we were able to reach all 50 states in DC. And so we've hit some other milestones there. You can see on the chart that like in 2015, we reached 1 million students served, and then 2017, 2 million served. And then it was at the start of 2019 that we were being incubated at the American Council on Education, and we moved over to ACT's Center for Equity and Learning just a year and a half ago. And now in this past year, we've reached 3 million students because of just the way the growth has taken off with our states. And so if you want to go to the next slide, you'll see our 2019 campaign results. Now this is nationally, and I'm realizing I forgot to put in the Mississippi slide, but I'll share the data points with you if you're not familiar. But if you participated at all last year, you were a part of this incredible movement here. So in 2019, we had 7,300 host sites. Now that's high schools. Sometimes we've had a few libraries or a few places trying it, but this is mostly high schools who are hosting for their graduating senior class. So we had 745,000 seniors from the class of 2020, and they submitted 1.2 million applications through our events. And in Mississippi, what we saw is there were 73 host sites, and you all had 7,380 students, and you were able to submit just over 8,000 applications. So you were a strong part of what we had here nationally, and we really are hoping to see that same impact from Mississippi again this year. If you want to go ahead and do the next slide. So this is going to just give you a little snapshot of what our, how we work. So I'm, with the national office here, and that's that red bar at the top. We work with state coordinators like Kirsten from your state across the country. So we meet with them monthly, and we're giving them resources and tips on how to do this work and how to support all of you. And then it's the state coordinators who are going right to the high schools to help you in organizing these events and reaching the students and their needs. And then you all obviously get to do the fun work of reaching the students. And so I just wanted to always I like to give this visual here of showing really, we're here to support the state coordinators and to support you, to give you what you need to make sure the students can get those applications done successfully. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And the other way that with our work, we're not just focused on our applications process, but we're working with other national campaigns. Meredith mentioned Reach Higher. They're the ones that organize College Signing Day. We're connected with the National College Attainment Network, who does the FAFSA completion. And so our organizations talk regularly and come together to make sure we're supporting one another and pointing to each other to make this a seamless process, to say, okay, you've done the application process, now let's get you to FAFSA, or now you've done FAFSA, let's make sure you're making that final decision and that you're ultimately showing up. If you want to go to the next slide, you can see the official partners behind each of those campaigns there. But Better Make Room is part of Reach Higher. National College Attainment Network is there as well. And Joni, would you like to share something on Steps to College?
I think the best part about Steps to College is that it really does give students and counselors, school counselors, the confidence that people are not competing with each other, but rather they see that we have a piece of the process. And so I encourage you to look at those resources that are behind each part in Steps to College. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's an easy, stepstocollege.org just to get there, and then it'll point you to ACAC. It'll point you to getting to Reach Higher and to the Common App resources. So if there's one thing to remember you walk away from, you can kind of take that name and get pointed to the right direction. I'll go ahead and do the next slide. So I teased this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that we do to really kick up and celebrate the application season, and this is, whether you're able to host or, in your traditional way or not, we want everybody to join us for Why Apply Day on September 18th. So this is our opportunity to remind students that applying to college is important, why they should consider applying. We know many of you will start organizing virtual or in-person events. Typically, we see most events in October and some in November. So that's kind of why we picked around the first day of fall to kick off that fall season for it. So you can see some photos here with a few of our state coordinators from Louisiana and Nebraska. And we have a printout that you can grab from our website, or Kirsten may have one where they've added their logo to it, I forget. So you can use this printout and write your statement on there of, because representation matters, or, because your future will be brighter, and just add what that meaning for why students should apply to college means to you, and share it on social media. This is to be shared on your personal accounts. Also, your organizations can do something where maybe every employer, every teacher, every counselor does it, and you kind of put it on the school Facebook or Twitter or whatever you have to just really push on that day this message of why it's important to be applying to college. And if you, I think that's the last slide. I don't know, did you have a photo to share from Kirsten? I don't know if we had one for her now. You can go ahead and skip that right here to the end of my remarks here. But I know we'll be doing Q&A at the end, but I just, really want to encourage you to jump on social media on the 18th and definitely participate in Why Apply Day to help get the motivation and excitement going for application season. And so Joni spoke up here. Joni is a contractor that works with ACAC and helps me often with trainings that we're doing within states. So she's behind the scenes working hard. And Adrian Enriquez, if you want to show your face just briefly too, she is newly joined us on September 1st and will be helping lead more of our trainings as well and communication efforts for ACAC. So you'll start to see her more, or might hear her name if you're getting resources from ACAC this year and moving forward. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I want to culminate this discussion that we're having into what we're doing here in Mississippi. You can see that this is national campaigns that go throughout the state and the United States, and how we are promoting ACAC and different application days throughout the state of Mississippi is College Countdown. And we are comprised of a partnership amongst WEF Get to College, with IHL, MDE, the Mississippi Office of Student Financial Aid. It really takes the whole state to promote this campaign that starts nationally, but it ends here in Mississippi. Next slide, Shannon. It's important that you think about the initiatives that we are promoting throughout College Countdown. We may have a new look, but we are promoting the same important initiatives for your students: college application days, FAFSA days, and signing days. And these are the events that we want you to register for when you register for College Countdown Mississippi. We want you to register with us, host an application day, a FAFSA day, and a signing day.
So in Mississippi, September is College Application Month. Hence why we're doing this webinar now, and as well as promoting the Why Apply Day in 2 weeks, as well as various application events across the state. So there are 3 options when it comes to you implementing an application day. We know that your high school may be a hybrid. It may be in traditional. It may be online. We have considered all of these options in the school format, and we ask that you consider still doing an application day. So we've thought through the options, and we asked that hosting a school-wide application event may be a good option for you. When you register with the link that was just dropped in the chat, you'll be provided a application day toolkit that has a lot of resources for all three types of school reopening programs. So depending on what your school format is, we've got an application day option for you and what fits best. Or maybe if a school-wide event isn't something that you can manage right now, we understand. So if your high school is implementing the college and career readiness class, particularly for seniors, you could work with either you're the instructor and you work with the counselor. If you're the counselor, work with those instructors in doing a classroom version of the application day based off of what your school allows as far as movement and things. The classroom base may be a good option, and in that toolkit, there's great resources for how to do that. Or maybe this year you are all virtual, or your classrooms can't afford to take time out of instruction time. We understand that too. So Get to College, College Countdown Mississippi, and colleges are all partnering to co-host virtual statewide application days. I'm dropping in the links the website that has all of the colleges. They selected their times, they selected which date, and the registration dates and times are found on the College Countdown Mississippi application day. We've got our first one this week, actually, with Alcorn State, as well as Pearl River Community College. So it's universities and colleges across the state of Mississippi. So maybe your school is not in the space where you can host a school-wide event or in the classroom. We still want applications to be completed. By promoting these virtual statewide events, you can still register your school as a part of College Countdown because you utilize these statewide initiatives.
So be sure and register your school for College Countdown Mississippi. If you register by September 15th, we will send you promo items. So be sure, follow the links and register your school for College Countdown Mississippi, as well as an event for Application Day, FAFSA Day, and Signing Day. Now, I want to announce to you guys that ACAC selected School of Excellence throughout the state and nationwide. And for Mississippi, Stone High School was selected as the 2019 ACAC Excellence School of Excellence Award winner. And you're probably thinking, how do you become a School of Excellence Award winner? You need to register with College Countdown Mississippi, host an application day, FAFSA day, and signing day. And if you host those days and send us back your data within a timely manner, you will become a premier school. And that is how we will select our 2020 School of Excellence Award winner. So register your school with College Countdown by September 15th, host 3 initiatives, and provide the supporting data that will put you in as first a premier school for Mississippi, and then ultimately one premier school will be selected as a School of Excellence Award winner. And finally, make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter. College Countdown Mississippi goes out monthly. And as Kirsten said, our topic this month is application days. And you will be, if you are subscribed, you will receive this newsletter in your email today. So be sure and subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything College Countdown Mississippi. If you have any questions for any of our panelists, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be happy to help you in the Q&A as well.
Yes, so before we go to the closing, Kirsten, are you seeing any questions there that have come through either during the webinar or right now?
The only question that we received is about the slides from today's presentation, which will be emailed out tomorrow to everyone that registered for the event. We have a question that just came through for the link for the newsletter, so I'll drop that in the chat. There were no specific questions for our panelists, so if anybody has any questions for Common Application or ACAC, please drop those in right now, and they can field any of those questions.
Okay, so we'll give that a few minutes or a few seconds to see if any questions come through.
We have a question for Common App. It's about the cost associated with it.
Yep, so there is no cost to use Common App. Each school determines if they charge an application fee, but we have over 400 of our member institutions that do not charge an application fee. And then for students who qualify for a fee waiver, such as if they qualify for free and reduced lunch, or they get an SAT or ACT fee waiver, then they can request that waiver in the application, and that would waive the fee for any school that they apply to via Common App. And that's where that $92 million of savings was last year for the students who did use fee waivers during the application process. But to create an account, to get in there, to find the over 400 schools that don't charge a fee, that's all free to use on Common App.
All right. Any other questions, Kirsten?
That looks like those are the questions from the group today. Thanks, Shannon.
All right, thank you. All right, many thanks to our presenters today. This was so informative and helpful. As Kirsten said earlier, we will email you the recording for this webinar in the next couple of days, and we will also post it on our YouTube channel. We would also appreciate it if you would complete the short survey that will automatically pop up at the end of this meeting. Filling this out and giving us your feedback on today's webinar helps us to keep improving. Stay tuned for our next Topic Tuesday webinar, which will be this upcoming Tuesday, September 15th. During that webinar, we will be hearing from Jennifer Rogers, the Director of the Mississippi Office of Student Financial Aid. We will continue this webinar series through the fall semester. If you participate in 5 webinars, you will have the opportunity to apply for 0.5 CEUs. And if you participate in all 10 webinars, you will have the opportunity to apply for 1 full CEU. The remaining webinars will include topics such as update from the Mississippi Office of Student Financial Aid, which is next week, as I said, scholarship procedures for our 8 IHL schools. That will be a 2-part series. Counseling cultural competencies, selective college admissions, counselor recommendation letters, and of course, Get to College's favorite topic, federal financial aid and the FAFSA. You can register for these webinars on our Get to College website, and they are listed under the Educator tab, and then choose Professional Development. While you are there registering, also check out all the other resources for you and your students listed under that Educator tab. So here are a few of the things that are going on professional development wise. As you can see, we have an ACT instructor training going on right now today, and another one tomorrow, and then 3 further dates in October. We also had our first online virtual FAFSA training last week, and we have 4 more exciting opportunities for you or your colleagues to join us for FAFSA training. And then also Kirsten is conducting several college and career readiness teacher chats. So for any of your teachers or educators who are teaching that CCR class, be sure and let them know about these teacher chats. And again, you can register for all of those online. As always, we love having you here in these sessions. We are here for you even during this time virtually, and here is the contact information for all of our offices, and you can always email just that general info@gettocollege.org or call one of our main offices. Do remember that virtual appointments for your students are still available with any of our staff members, and you can book by phone or online. So that is the end of our webinar today. And again, thank you for being here, and we will see you next week for our next presentation by Jennifer Rogers at the Mississippi Office of Student Financial Aid.